Ladies and gentlemen, and if you will permit me for a moment to be politically correct and tolerant and inclusive, ladies and gentlemen and crypto genders in between, I would like to present my audience with some hypothetical questions that teeter on the brink of what the hick farmer Sigmund Freud wannabes call an irresolvable moral dilemma. There are many examples on which I could base such a question, but I'll spare you having to sit through a 3-hour TED lecture and use just a few. Whatever conclusion you draw at the end of this will neither be right or wrong, as that concept has been stolen out of the hand of God and out of the universe of what used to be known as common sense a long time ago. Rather, the point of this exercise is to ensure that everyone who answers these questions in the comments ends the exercise and goes home with a nice shiny participation trophy, the symbol of a Pyrrhic victory over a catch-22, and the fuzzy feeling that you're a winner, although you crossed the finish line last, and the waking realization that, as Murphy's Law states, where you stand depends on where you were sitting. Of course, there are no enforceable rules for this exercise, other than the requirement that you listen to the question before you start to type your answer in the comments. Unless, of course, you're Jane Stanley of the BBC, or an AI program running on a D-Wave computer, or God, in which case you know the answer before the question is asked. If so, you can stop the video now and submit your answer. As for the rest of you mere mortals, whether you reside in the Matrix or not, the following are some very basic questions that my father's generation could answer without much kibutzing, that my generation didn't have issues with, but those following us could debate about for days and disagree about to the flashpoint of physical violence. As Jesus once said, they strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Ready? Question number 1. A criminal approaches an old man who just withdrew $200 cash from an ATM and demands that the man hand over his money. The old man says, "Get away from me." Instead of complying with the old man's request, the thief approaches in a threatening manner. The old guy produces a Walter PPK and lets the thug have the whole 7-shot clip. Whose fault is it he got shot? Question number 2. A known international terrorist, along with his cohorts in the deep state, orchestrate an attack on a foreign embassy. He shouts "Death to America" daily, and the slaughter of innocent people is his religion. Whose fault is it when the leader of the nation whose embassy he attacks instantly vaporizes his ass with death from above? Question number 3. A socialist Nazi governor, in the state where the first shot heard round the world was fired, goes against the Constitution he swore an oath to protect and declares that he will force citizens to hand over their weapons. Whose fault will it be when the second shot heard round the world is fired? Question number 4. A global criminal cabal that has been operating for over 200 years have incrementally stolen the wealth of an entire nation, conspired to betray the country they swore to protect, and engage in all manner of crimes from drug smuggling to child sex slavery. Whose fault will it be when the people finally wake up and drag the criminals out into the street and hang them from street lamps like the Italians did with Mussolini? Question number 5. The United States is not at the brink of civil war, where Americans fight each other, as the cabal would have it, but on the razor's edge of revolution, where the people overthrow a government. We know who's to blame, but who will it ultimately be? who bears the brunt of pissed-off Patriot wrath, and who will go down in history as the traitors who were dragged out into the street and pummeled into Alpo by peaceful Americans who have finally had their fill of being cageless slaves to a bunch of Satanist baby eaters. Question number 6. Finally, I must ask the question that all of us dread. Who is ready? Who has the coconuts to stare tyrants in the face and hock a big green chobaki loogie right in their eye? Who has the stones to say, over my dead body, but yours first? Who is ready to invoke the oath taken in his or her youth against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and knows that a nation cannot withstand tyranny from within? Those are just some of the more pressing and fork-in-the-road questions, the answers to which will either set this nation and the planet eventually down either one of two roads. One road leads to a techno-Nazi dictatorship from which humanity will only escape in a global nuclear holocaust. The other leads to peace, prosperity, and a planet on which we, as a community of God's children, forego greed and moral debauchery and the unimaginable wealth of knowing that a greater reward awaits us than can ever be stolen from men on earth. The pivotal question is the hardest for some to answer, and the easiest for most of us who believe that there is a God, whose matrix of carnal and material illusion we occupy. This current presidency may seem to be a curse to some, those who would rather believe bullshit and be done with it, than to labor heart, mind, and soul after the truth. The Great Awakening is not an easy path to travel. It demands that you walk out of the darkness and into the light. It exposes our fallibility and our accountability. The truth is not relative. It is empirical. The crimes have been exposed, the perpetrators unmasked. God will not do for us what we should be doing for ourselves and for a fellow man. He will not send the lightning or bring down fire and brimstone when a few ounces of well-placed lead would equally be sufficient. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and live with the results. We do God's work by taking down this long-standing cabal of evil. It begins. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Please subscribe to our backup channels, Net4Truth USA 2 Patriot channel, BitChute.com/net4Truth USA, and drop.space/@Net4Truth USA. We fly so close to the target, we are on our 5th fighter jet. We will be relentless and persistent until the enemies of freedom are defeated. You can support this channel by using the links in the description, but for a $100 donation, I will personally send you a autographed hardcover special edition copy of Land of Childhood's Fears. Also, visit my bookstore at lulu.com/Net4Truth USA. If you are viewing this video on BitChute, you can use the links in the description to support us, or simply click the green $ dot on our video to support this channel. Thank you. Links are in the description section.